I'm recording. I'll carry it after, so it's not a problem. Okay. I have here, because I printed out, this is for the second part of the class, I printed out my cover because I wanted two sides,
Thank you.
two sides per slide, and I have these two left.
Okay, thank you.
You can take it if you wish. Because I was going to throw them away, but you can reuse them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Great.
Okay. So the first part of the class is about segmentation techniques. It will be a short part in comparison with the second part of feature detection. Have you heard before about segmentation techniques in images?
Yes.
Some of them.
But have you heard before?
Yeah.
I think it's the same that I work with the laser sensor and with the segmentation for detecting objects, lines, circles. I think it should be something.
So you have heard before thresholding?
Yeah. Especially
Any-
RGB, HSV.
Any other advanced method like the main shift method that I'm going to present here?
No.
Or just basic thresholding? Basic thresholding, no.
And it's another.
Okay. So
Mnemonic.
I will go faster than in that part, and we will concentrate in the second part of the segmentation techniques. So this is a motivational slide. I put it in the previous class, and I have added here different things. This is completely on my own. I have put it here as I think that they should go. So these are the levels in vision from pixels, from image acquisition and pixels, to the top level of scenes and objects analysis. So we are going in this course through different parts here. We have been here in edge detection. Stefan has talked to you about filtering, denoising, edge detection. I mean, denoising respecting the edges in the image. I think you had a class, the Verona-Malik algorithm. So these techniques are in this level of filtering, basic, well, not basic or advanced operations at the pixel level, transformations to the image. And as we go up, we start to go from pixels and edges to more elaborate things like lines, circles, geometrical shapes, and so on. So we start to apply data modeling techniques and some kind of classification to go up to a more elaborate shapes, texture things, movement, optical flow, tracking, and so on, which all of them rely on lower levels, but they demand more advanced techniques coming from machine learning and statistical processing. And then we go up to an intelligent level where we are able, should be able, to do cool things like activity, assessment, tracking of objects, trajectory, motion estimation, 3D models, animation, people detection, people tracking, a lot of cool things that build on this level here. So in this course we are covering different parts here, and hopefully in other lectures after that we will present some techniques for this level. If you go to some of the books that I have recommended you, they are huge. You have seen these books. One is nearly 1,000 pages with a lot of different things. We are only going to cover here some of them. But but I'm trying to present the basics, things that will allow you to go here. But when you go here, this is based on your application area mostly. So analyze doing fingerprints. If you are interested in humans, you are other people here are working with robots. So this is more application dependent, but based on a lot of techniques here, common techniques that we are trying to present you. So this first part is about segmentation here, around this level. So first we are going to define segmentation and formally, and then we are going to present some techniques. So segmentation is to find groups of pixels that go together in some way. That is, that they have some common properties. And at the same time, they are dissimilar to other regions in some way. So we need any kind of similarity property. This is like cluster analysis. This is the idea, getting regions that they are similar in some way. Like for instance here, coins. Okay. So the regions here represent coins, or in this case here we have different parts. In the image we have the grass, we have the water, and we have the building here on the sky. So each part is represented by any property, by some property. And this is in some way complementary to edge detection, but not exactly. In edge detection we try to identify boundaries of the objects, and in segmentation we try to identify the regions of the objects. But they are not completely interchangeable. If you detect edges, you are not detecting only the boundaries of the object, but you are detecting many other things. Or maybe the objects are close together, so we don't have an edge between the two objects. If you apply edges here, you will get edges also in this region. But you are interested, if you want to segment a coin, you are interested only in this edge here. So edges will help you, or maybe not. But there are some complementarity between edge detection and segmentation.
Usually application for image segmentation is to remove the background or something else?
There is a slide for this later. One application is to remove the background. But what is background?
But why would I select here only coins? Is there some like...
In this case, if I am interested in selecting coins, and I mean, maybe you not coins, but you may have
Bacterial, another example.
What?
Bacterial.
Bacteria and medical analysis, for instance. They are interested in segmenting cells, and in image analysis they have a lot of different parts like that. In fact, image analysis, medical image analysis is a huge field by itself. And this field, segmentation, is quite important in medical image. This maybe seems very simple, but maybe think, I don't know, imagine luggage in an airport. So, please come in. I am recording the class.
Besides, we'll join in a few minutes.
You are not in plane. Okay. We are talking about segmentation. Have you seen the material before that I sent? Okay. Not a problem. I'm talking about segmentation and separating objects, finding objects in images based on some property. So, yeah. Edge detection, as I was saying, was complementary in some sense. You may imagine, as I was saying, luggage crossing through a, I don't know how it's called in the airport.
Yeah,
but if you put a camera, belt, that is. Imagine a belt with luggage or any other thing in a factory, and they want to separate objects. You have a fixed background, If you put a camera on top, the background never changes. You have the belt moving. So as soon as you have an object passing, it should be an easy task. In that case, you control illumination and you control the background. So it should be like that. You have objects that are passing, and based on, I don't know, shape or whichever property that you can use to separate the objects, and after that you can decide which way each object should follow. So the goal is to find uniform regions, as I said, to describe the context, and the purposes of segmentation can be made. For further analysis, to extract features in the regions that you have segmented, so you apply recognition, classification, many things. Image compression can be also benefited from segmentation. If you find uniform regions, then you can apply compression to these regions because they are similar, so you have a lot of redundancy there. You can apply image compression. Or just for visualization. But you can see here some examples, as I told you before. Here. In that case, if we segment where the body is, after that we can apply tracking. But we need first to segment the part where the body is located. For here, for counting cars, or focusing on the registration plates of the cars, for any kind of control, fines, speed fines, whichever thing. But we need to find where the cars are in the image. To track them after that. First, we need segmentation. So formally, segmenting an image is partitioning the image in different sub-images. So they follow these constraints here. Well, of course, that the segmented region is not empty. The union of the different segmented parts should be the whole image, and the different segmented parts should not overlap. Easy constraints. So you get the image, different parts of the image, and each region should not be overlapped with you. This is just one example of segmentation. We put here a piece of paper and where an animal should cross. This is in Australia, I think. The writer of one of the books is not in Australia, it's in New Zealand, and this is an application there in New Zealand. So the toes of the animal get print here, and after that you can segment, and then you can follow the track of the animal. But first you segment.
Oh, you segment the small
every this here, and when you have 5, you know the spatial distribution. So you get different points, then you need to build the model of the toe, because you know that they go together following a specific pattern. And then you have different impressions that you can use to track.
So you get segments which overlap?
Yeah, you can have segments, but you know the spatial relative range. Well, of course, in different regions here, it's not so easy. But if you have a clean piece of paper, then you should be able to do this tracking. In other cases, we are only interested in specific regions of interest, and the rest of the image for us is background, not interest. But we need to define the properties in our region of interest, so then we are able to find this region, and then the rest of the image for us is background. Maybe we are not interested in classifying all the parts of the image necessarily. We just want to focus on one part. We know the properties of the object in this part, so just use this property, get this region, and discard the rest of the image. So this is your foreground, this is how it's called, and the rest of the image for this background. What is foreground and what is background depends on your application. So now let's go with simple segmentation techniques. You have told me before that you have a lot of that, so I will go fast. You have heard about image segmentation before. Okay, so I will go fast on this. The simple, one simple segmentation technique is thresholding. When you have objects with more or less similar gray value, and the background uniform, the background is uniform, you plot the histogram, you get two modes here. Have you seen it before? So you put a threshold somewhere, and then hopefully you get separated the regions of the image. This works if your object has similar gray level. And there is a method for this, also method. You have a MATLAB command for this, which is very fresh. Have you heard about this before? So with this command you can apply this method that is based on minimizing the overlap between these two modes of the histogram. So if you put a threshold here somewhere, you compute these two variances here of the pixels below and after the threshold, weighted by the probabilities of the pixels here and here. That is just basically the number of pixels here divided by the total number of pixels of the image in both cases. And you have the properties, the probability of this part here and this part here. You get the two probabilities, the standard deviations here, and then you modify your threshold and find the point where this is minimized. So you are minimizing the overlap between the two regions. This is an example. This is the threshold given by the OTSU method. But of course you can use other thresholds. Also it's only when you have two clear modes in the histogram. But maybe it's not the case in your application. You have two clear modes if it works well. This is one example where the OTSU method is used in segmentation of signatures or characters. In optical character recognition, this method works quite well. Of course, you can apply to a random image if you wish. What you are going to get is the dark regions on the one side and the bright regions on the other, with not too much sense. But of course, you can apply to whichever image you wish. There is also one command in MATLAB, multi-thresh, where you can define how many modes in the histogram you think you have. In this image here, you have the black region, the gray region, and the white region. So if you plot the histogram, you will have one peak here, one peak here, and one peak here. 3 modes. So if you put 2 thresholds here, you should be able to separate the 3 regions. With this command in MATLAB, you can do that. I don't know how exactly it works, but I think it will be based on separating the histogram in different parts and minimizing this overlap.
Is the method built based on color and not on the shape or anything else?
What?
How would I define what is thresholding?
The brightness values usually.
Yeah, so no shape, nothing like this,
No.
only the brightness.
Yeah, only the brightness. This is one issue with these methods. They only use brightness. So your region of interest should be connected. This is another algorithm, sheet going, it's the same concept. It's based on brightness, so you start in one point and then start to grow based on some property. You say, okay, a grade level difference with respect to this point below something. You start to grow and then you stop when your pixels here have gray value different with respect to this one higher than the first one. So this is what is represented here. Start in one pixel, they start to grow and add neighboring pixels until new pixels around doesn't satisfy similarity property. And depending on what you consider neighbor pixels, you will get different results. You know these two difference, right? 4 and 8 neighborhood. Depending on which one you are using, you get different results. In this case here, these 2 pixels are not neighbors if you are using this case. If you are using this kind of relation, all these pixels are neighbors. So if you apply segmentation based on this, depending on which relation you want to use, you will get here one black region or as many regions as different pixels. And which relation you should use? No answer. It depends. But you have to be conscious that you will get different results. And another issue with this algorithm is that the outcome of the segmentation must be independent of the initial pixel that you see. So in this example, if you start here and you stop when the difference between this pixel and the next pixel is above 15, I think, start to grow until you find pixels with grade level higher than 15. If you start to grow here, your algorithm stop here. Then if you start to grow in this point here, you get different regions. To solve this, there is one solution. That is partitioning the range of image intensities in the range into intervals. So if you want to define a threshold here and say, okay, let's find regions that have a gray value difference less than 15 between all the pixels. To do this, first partition your image into ranges based on this value, and then you start to grow only with pixels that are in the same interval. So in this case, you have separated intervals in your image, but you avoid this problem of getting different regions. And then the last simple segmentation is split and merge. Have you heard what split and merge was before? All of you have heard about that? No? So here, this is a different technique. Here, what it's doing is to start with the whole image, then split the image in 4 regions. Well, you split the image in 4 regions if the whole image is not homogeneous according to your criteria of segmentation. Say, I don't know, average, standard deviation of gray values smaller than something. Maybe this could be your homogeneity criteria. So you look into the whole image, check if your criteria is met. If it's not met, you say, okay, the whole image is not homogeneous enough. Let's divide in 4. And then you apply this criteria to each 4 quadrants. If the criteria is met, then you stop splitting. You don't split it anymore. You consider that this region is homogeneous enough to be considered a single segmentation region. And you do the same for the other quadrants. If you get a quadrant that is not fulfilling your criteria, then split again. And split until the regions that you have met your similarity criteria in this region. Okay? And after that, you apply a merge criteria, because by doing this, maybe this region here and this region here are similar. So then you start to check adjacent regions, and if they fulfill the merge criteria of similarity, then you merge this one, or you merge this one here, whichever. There are options like setting a minimum size of the area, so if you are going to split and the resulting areas are smaller than the value, a number of pixels, then you don't split them anymore. Another option is to apply merge after each split step. Split, merge, or you split all the way until you have all the images split and then merge again. There are different variants for that. Just some criterion for splitting and merging. You split, for example, if the standard deviation of grade levels is above a threshold. So you have a region with standard deviation of grade value quite high. So you think it's not homogeneous, then you split this region. And to merge, there are different criteria that can be used. One is if the standard deviation of the union of these two regions is below a threshold, you say, okay, these together are quite homogeneous, so let's merge. Or if the mean gray value of this region here and here are not so different, so you also can merge this region, these two regions. This is one example of segmentation. This image, after splitting here, so you see that you get a lot of squares around. Here, here, you get the squares that are not split anymore. And then you apply merging here, and you see that you get here all these boundaries better segmented here. The letters here are well segmented because they are clearly distinguishable from this black region of the box. Here you have more problems, and that's why you don't have. So it also depends on the minimum size that you define. So maybe you define a minimum size not for that, or check happens here. And some things with this algorithm is that, of course, assuming that you get square regions maybe is not good for the eye, maybe. And you maybe get regions separated where you don't have a clear boundary, as I thought in the beginning. You see here that you get these two regions separated. Why? Well, this is a dark region, this is a bright region. So, because we are based on intensity values, they are separated here, even if you don't have a boundary here. And the same happens here. You have different intensity values as you go this way. So, in the end, they get separated. They are different enough in intensity to be considered different regions according to this method. Okay, so let's go with more advanced techniques. The mean shift segmentation. With the methods before, we have been using grade level only. This is one problem of the methods that we have seen. It may work in your application, but in many other applications they don't work. So here in this advanced segmentation method, we are interested in using not the grade value only, but different features for each pixel. And for each pixel we can define different properties, not only the grade value or the color information you will have gradable, but you can also use gradient channels, boundary information in that case. And it depends on the boundary detector that you are using. You can also compute mean and standard deviation around an epoch in a pixel P at different sizes. And you can also use coordinates of the pixel to take into account what you mentioned before, spatial relation. So then for each pixel, we define a feature vector of n different features. Which features? I'm not saying which ones to use. I'm saying that we can use different here. We will see later in this class. If you know that your regions can be separated by textures, you can apply a texture detector to your image and use the texture values. So you will get segmentation based on these texture properties. It depends on your application and which properties define the regions that you want to segment. If they are defined by different colors, we will see some examples later. Using just color information will work. If they are defined by texture information, you can extract texture in your image. Each region will have a different texture value, and then you put your texture value in this vector here. I'm not telling that you should use all of this. These are just some examples. You can define other properties based on your application.
And so do the features that would apply all the methods like seed or something like split and sort to this feature vector?
No, they just use gray level.
So what do I do now with the feature vector? If I have a feature vector, then do I classify it or?
Yeah, we're going to see now what to do with this. The idea is that you can use different properties to segment your image. Not only gray values as before, but many other properties.
But you could use all the simple techniques on one of the feature vectors. So instead of using the gray level, you could use, for example, your texture.
Yeah, this is the idea.
So all the simple ones will still work.
If in your application maybe work. It depends on your application. This is the idea. But there are more advanced techniques like this one, because maybe in your case you cannot separate the regions based only on gray levels. This is the idea of presenting this technique. So we will see, I think, better with a 2D example. So in this example, what we have here is, in this image, what it's extracted is the mean and the standard deviation of each pixel in a neighborhood of 3 times 3. And what is done in this method is to put a joint histogram of your features. In this case, we have mean and the standard deviation extracted from each pixel of this image. So what we compute is a joint histogram. You have the idea? If you have n dimensions, you have an n-dimension histogram. I'm putting this example in 2D so we can see what is happening. So in this image, for example, all these pixels here, they have a small gray value. So if you compute the mean in a neighborhood, you get small values. And if your neighborhood in this case is sufficiently small, the standard deviation will be small also. So these pixels here, in the joint histogram, where they will be? Small gray value, small standard deviation. So you get a peak here. These pixels here, very bright pixels, a lot of them in the image. So high average value, but small standard deviation because you are using a 3 times 3 window only. So you get this peak here. So all these pixels contribute to this peak, and all bright pixels contribute to these peaks here. And of course, the rest of the pixels of the image contribute to different parts here. But of course, you have a small neighborhood, so you will have, in this case, very small standard deviation. This is why most of the histogram, most of the pixels are contributing to this part here. And as you go away here, high standard deviation values, your histogram goes to very, very small values in comparison to this part here. So what do you think we are going to do? If we have an histogram with peaks here, peaks here representing different parts.
You can use a seed grow on the histogram on the cluster.
What?
A seed growing thing.
Well, yes. You can start in a point here, whichever, and then you move based on the center of gravity, for instance. And then you move your window until you reach the maximum. And you do this for all pixels of your histogram. So for each pixel, you will end up in a peak, right? So all these pixels here, for example, end up here in this peak. So what you say is, okay, all the pixels of the image that have contributed to these points here are assigned to the same class. You have the idea? Each pixel in the image contributes to this history. So if you are here in one point, you know which pixels of the image correspond to this.
So everything inside the circle is the same class?
Not inside the circle.
It's just the same as we did before, we just clustered the histogram pics like...
Yeah. In this case, you cluster the histogram based in a window of a certain size. The size of the window is what defines the results of the algorithm. If you put small window, you won't allow to go further. So you will have a lot of different clusters in your histogram. If you put a big window, you will have less clusters in your histogram. So this is the idea. You get different clusters, and you apply this method to all pixels of your histogram. So every pixel will end up in a peak, which is represented by these black segments here. So all the pixels corresponding to these different points are assigned to the same class in the image. So they are segmented, also they are assigned at a same label. You don't know where they are in the image, but they will have the same label. If you have included X and Y in your vector, hopefully you will get regions that are adjacent. Well, not necessarily, but hopefully. So the two parameters here are the size of your window, and there is a stop criteria that you say, okay, when my window doesn't move more than this, then I will stop. And so these are the two important parameters here. And which parameters you use, it depends on your application. Test, you do your test, and you find your optimum parameters based on your problem. And you can also use different type of windows when you are moving. You can use a uniform window, or you can use any kind of window that weights the pixels based on the distance to the center. Gaussian, triangle, whichever. So this is what the results with this method here. All these pixels are assigned to the same region because they have similar gray value. Probably they will belong to this region here. You have also here this region here is connected here because they have similar gray value. Of course, in this image you have a lot of different regions. What you do with this is up to your application. This is just one example that you can see that if you have average gray values in your vector, you get regions that are of a similar gray value on average. This is another example using color and location in your vector. And you can have a criteria saying that regions smaller than something are not allowed. So you remove or you merge to the next region of whichever. In this image, you have regions that have a clear different color. The hand is a clear color, which is different from this blue ring and different from this background. So applying this method will give you the different regions on color information in this case. And these are other examples also using color. This color here is more or less a image. This part here is also more or less homogeneous. So it gets segmented here, different from this part. Which is also, you would say, okay, this is a wall and this is a wall. Yes, or in the image is different. You have to live with that. And in this case, also the same regions. Based on color, you get regions that have different color in your image. And this is one example of using different window sizes. And of course, you can also have different sizes for different parameters. You have color parameters in your image and location parameters. You have a 5-dimensional histogram. You have a window in this histogram with whichever shape in a 5-dimensional space. And you have applied different sizes of the window to, in this case, X and Y and RGB. If you have small windows, you will get a lot of regions in your histogram, a lot of clusters. This is why you have here a lot of different regions. But if you have a bigger window, you will get less clusters in your histogram. So you will get less regions in your image. Regions with more or less same color will get merged if you use a bigger window. Okay, so these are the references for this part. Quite fast presentation. Okay. Have you got all the ideas? Any questions? Any doubts? Okay, I've sent you the link with these slides, and you have also these references in the radiography section. I have built different sections in the web of the course. And well, this book is available online. There are more segmentation techniques described in this book, in the chapter 5. Chapter 5. Okay, so now let's go to the second part of the class. Feature detection and matching. Do you want to make a stop or do we follow? This is a more heavy part of the class. So if you want to stop or just continue.
Small break.
Small break, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah.